everyone, welcome to this video that is brought to you by IPMAT by LPT. Guys, in today's video, we are going to have a quick and a brief look in terms of what is the study routine for students who are non-readers and for especially the students who come from the science background. Now, understand one thing very clearly, students, that as far as your IPMAT preparation is concerned, there is not much of a difference in terms of what the non-readers need to do and what the science students need to do. But still, at the end of my video, I will be giving you some valuable tips in terms of how the non-readers and how the science students will be able to get the maximum benefit out of your IPMAT preparation. So let us not waste any more time. Let us get started. Now, let's talk about the first point, which is daily structure. So daily structure has to be around about 60 to 90 minutes. Now understand here, students, that when you talk about your preparation for IPMAT, considering the fact that IPMAT 26 is not very far away, you have to make sure that you are spending 1 hour to 2 hours every single day for your IPMAT preparation. Now when you talk about how do you go about it, first remember, warm up, that is 10 minutes light reading for stamina. Now everybody who is preparing for IPMAT has to work on their reading skills. They have to make sure that they are reading daily and they understand what is the value out of this reading, that they would be helping us in terms of answering the questions and using it sure that most of the things are taken care of. Now it talks about choose short, engaging, easy content. When you start your preparation, of course, you are not going for hard difficulty level of RCs or in terms of editorials or the reading material. Keep it simple, keep it something which is short, something which is engaging and easy content. You can use reference for The Hindu, Times of India, Economic Times and so on. Depends on to which newspaper are you referring to. So whether it is Indian Express, whether it is Times of India, whether it is The Hindu, you can go for any of these. It just depends on how good you are or how bad you are at English and what is the performer that you should be looking into for the next step. Then talk about goal, build focus, not knowledge. So basically it is about building focus and not knowledge, because not many students are in the habit of reading daily. So you have to work on building up that stamina, getting into that habit that you are not only just reading, but you're also comprehending the text that you have, right? Now, what does it say? It says read one article, spend 5 minutes listing. Of course, I have told you in my previous videos also. So when you read an editorial, it is very important for you to understand the 3 things here. So we talk about the main idea, author's tone and unknown words. So whenever you read a particular article, make sure that you read it thoroughly and you derive maximum benefits out of it, just making it sure that for every article that you read, the main idea, the author's tone and of course the words that are used in that editorial has to be something which is known by you. So keep this thing in mind. Next, we talk about the core practice. 25 to 30 minutes every single day has to be focused on practice. So just remember one thing, if you have covered any topics, if you are done with any of the concepts here, just make it sure that you're also practicing. Alternate daily between RCs and VA, because you need to understand in your preparation, RC and VA, they both have a contribution to make. So you are not only working on RC skills, but you're also working on your VA skills. Now, RCs can be, divided into Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Do 2 RCs from previous IPMAT papers or CAT level easy sets. You can even follow this book for your reference. So, of course, you have to start reading and start solving RCs at the first go, because that will build up that stamina, that will build up that habit which is required for you to deal with the paper. Okay, so you can use alternate days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then focus on why the answer is correct. Of course, when you're solving RC, it is important for you to choose the right option. And when you choose the right option, it becomes pretty obvious for you to understand that you know what is the logic behind that question. Now, why the others are wrong? Always keep in mind the options that you eliminate should have a logic in terms of how you have eliminated those pointers. And this is what you have to develop as a routine habit. Summarize it in 2-3 lines. Now, science students struggle initially. Of course, people who come from science background or people who are non-readers, they might not be in a very easy going mode because you are not into the habit of reading at all. So initially you will face some difficulties. Initially you will feel that uninterestedness and probably you would not be too much concerned with dealing with these things. But remember one thing, you have to get into the habit of reading every single day, because without reading it will be very difficult for you to answer the questions that is based on usage. And when I talk about IPMAT preparation, I'm telling that most of these questions come from the usage part that will be developed through continuous and consistent reading habit. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now VA can be divided into again alternate days. So you have Tuesday, Thursdays and Saturdays. Work on Para Jumbles. If you are done with the concepts of Para Jumble, practice a few questions. Odd one out, para summary, sentence correction, vocabulary, practice 10 to 15 questions daily. So just remember one thing, whichever topics you are completing in a day, make sure you practice those questions, because this practice will help you to underscore whether you have understood the concept and whether you are ready to apply that concept within the question. So it's not just the learning of concepts which is important, it is also equally important that you execute those concepts in your questions and replicate in your questions. So keep that thing in mind. Also, vocabulary plays a major role, guys. Although I have come across a lot of students who tell me that they struggle with vocabulary, and because they struggle with vocabulary, this is exactly the reason why you should be working on your vocabulary skills. Science students often lack reading based vocab, so that is not the familiarity level that we are looking into. Context based learning, not wordless. So just keep in mind that you are going for context based learning and not just memorizing the list of words. Although I feel that for your other examination preparation, you also have to go for synonyms and antonyms and one word substitution, but that would come later. At this point of time, when you are just beginning to have that habit going on, just focus on these areas. Daily routine, minimum 5 words is what I tell students, because you cannot go beyond a certain limit. So 10 to 15 words is what would be the safe number around which you can practice your daily routine here. Write your own sentences, revise yesterday's words and tools. You can make use of Merriam-Webster word of the day, and you can also make use of vocabulary.com, which could help you with your vocabulary preparation. Understand very crucial things, guys, that when you talk about your IPMAT preparation, it has to encompass everything. So it should not only include RC, but the equal weightage has to be given to VA as well, and VA constitutes grammar and vocabulary. So just make sure that you're working on your vocabulary skills, and you're also doing revision and analysis at least for 10-15 minutes. So most important areas comes from the analysis, not extra practice. After each set, note 2 things you learned. Note 1 mistake you keep repeating, and reattempt wrong questions next day. So if you are somebody who is practicing these questions on everyday basis, make sure कि आप उसको analyze कर रहे हो, आप उससे learnings ले रहे हो कि आपने क्या तरीके से सही किया उसको, आपने किस तरीके से उसको गलत किया, and these learnings will help you to plan your schedule even in a more accurate manner. 10 special tips for non-readers and science background students. There are subtle things that you should be careful about when you are dealing with IPMAT preparation. Start with short articles, not tough editorials, because you are not into the habit of reading such stuff. You will initially find some difficulty. So make sure you are not choosing something which is too difficult for you to measure up. IPMAT does not test UPSC level English. That's not the kind of level that we are referring to, guys. It is again something which is easier that we are talking about. Focus more on logic of passages than outside knowledge. Whenever you solve reading comprehension, we keep telling students that it's always that the answers has to come from the passage. So we are not really focusing on external knowledge in order to answer the RC questions. Science students excel in pattern recognition. Use that to crack RC structure. So every RC that you solve follows a structure. For example, I'm sure that when you have done tones and when you have done main idea, you do identify how the structure of the passages are lined up and how you're supposed to deal with it. Build stamina slowly. Again, for those of you who come from science backgrounds and people who are non-readers here, understand there will be a difference in terms of how do you understand things and how do you perceive things. So just make it sure that you are building your stamina first, because Initially you will face that hiccups, initially you will face those problems, but once you continue it for 10-15 days, it becomes a part of your routine, and then it becomes easier for you to adapt to that situation. Now first 2 weeks 15-20 minutes reading, this is for the start, but you should be going for higher ahead. Then move to 25 to 30 minutes. Ideally speaking, I tell students that given how much time is left for your IPMAT preparation and the exam that you're targeting, you have to at least make sure that you're reading for 45 minutes to maximum it can go up to 1 hour of intensive reading. Finally, 40 minutes reading on Sundays. Sundays are easier and they are freer. So you can obviously make it sure that you're working hard on Sundays. Don't memorize grammar rules. This is extremely important, guys, especially for IPMAT Indore, because IPMAT Indore gives you questions that is based on usage more than the grammatical rules. Okay, so it's not about memorizing the grammar rules. Instead, learn from questions, usage and rules. So we adopt a counter position with respect to how do we deal with grammar. So in your school, probably you would have done rules and then you would have done your questions, but now with the competitive examinations, I tell students it is better for you to solve questions, and through that usage you are able to figure out as to what rule is being practically applied there. Maintain a vocabulary notebook, keep it small, 200 to 250 practical words. Not every word is important, not every word has to be noted down. So maintain a diary where you are noting down the words that you get across these editorials and newspaper articles. Go for active reading, underline mentally which is author's opinion, example, contrast and main idea. So these are the things that we are looking for. So also understand, students, that RC has become extremely crucial now, because there was a lot of weightage that was given to RCs in the last year's paper, and it is expected that this year too you would have a lot of questions. Last year it was 18 questions coming from 45 questions. So this year we are expecting a similar kind of pattern. So make sure you are doing this. And of course, at the end, I would like to just tell you that there is not much of a difference in terms of how other students prepare and how you as non-readers or as students from science backgrounds have to prepare. It is just that the basic preparation module remains the same. So everybody has to read, everybody has to work on RC, everybody has to work on vocabulary, everybody has to work on grammar and so on. But yes, as a student who is not into the habit of reading at all, your first priority has to be to continue with the habit for next 15 to 20 days. And once you do it for 15 to 20 days, it becomes easier for you to adapt to that routine. So keep this thing in mind, not too many differences in terms of your preparation. Just remember, IPMAT 2026 or IPMAT Indore's paper focuses more on the usage part than the rule driven क्वेश्चन. सो आपका जो यूसेज वाला पार्ट है वो स्ट्रांग होना चाहिए, और यूसेज वाले पार्ट के लिए ही हम बोलते हैं कि आपकी जो रीडिंग स्किल्स है प्लस आपकी जो कॉम्प्रीहेंशन स्किल्स है, दैट इज व्हाट इज रिक्वायर्ड इन ऑर्डर टू नेल द पेपर. So if you have got any doubts, you can put it in the comment section. I'll try to answer those questions. But remember one thing, before I wind up this session, remember you have to work on 3 areas of English. It's not just vocabulary and grammar, it is also RC. And in some papers or examinations, you do get critical reasoning questions. So even that has to be taken care of. But the first and the foremost thing that you should be doing is start building your reading habit, so that once you become comfortable, it becomes easy for you to understand the other concept. That's all from my side for this video, guys. Keep following LPT for more such content, and we would be happy to help you for IPMAT preparation. Thank you. Have a good day and bye-bye.